Anybody who thinks that there's going to be some big mass change with Biden, President-elect Biden, excuse me, former Vice President Biden, President-elect Biden, former Senator Biden, anybody who thinks that there's going to be some big mass sea change on January 20th, 2021 is, I don't want to say they're living in fantasy land, but
you're deluding
I really
yourself.
think they're living in fantasy land.
You're deluding yourself. And
Joe Biden, before he was the vice president, was one of the biggest friends of big banking, too big to fail in this country.
Yeah, because that's because they're all based in Delaware.
And
he was the senator from MBNA. Like,
the one thing you have to
these
look
monikers
at,
stick, man.
Yeah. And everybody, I think everybody, when he became vice president under President Obama, there was a massive whitewash of Joe Biden's Senate career. A massive whitewash. I mean, this is someone who, right or wrong, somewhat abandoned Anita Hill in the Clarence Thomas hearings.
Somewhat abandoned is a very, very nice
is
way
very
to put
generous
it.
on my
part.
part.
That's a very
Yes.
generous way to put it. Rather than he called her a liar. He called her a liar.
Somewhat abandoned. That's as far as I'm willing to go.
Okay.
This is someone who also was one of the authors of the crime bill. Different standards for cocaine versus crack. Okay, can't really get more racist than that.
And throw into it. Didn't your son have a problem with that?
Oh yeah.
What kind of penalties did he face for under the law that you wrote?
Yeah, he got diversion and no permanent charges, but if it would have been crack, he would have done 10 years.
And he's done crack.
Yeah.
Like,
but furthermore,
there's documented evidence.
and here is probably the single biggest issue I have with this guy, and those two are horrible. He was one of the biggest advocates for the repeal of Glass-Steagall.
And the bankruptcy bill.
He was one of the biggest advocates for the repeal of Glass-Steagall. And he also fought against people declaring bankruptcy and being able to include student loans because he did not want banks on the hook for that. And
this is why I don't like the image argument, because it's like, once you get into how this really affects your life, it doesn't matter if that's coming from a man, woman, black, white, Asian.
Well, no. Here's the thing: it does matter, and the reason I will vehemently disagree on that is because it is important as part of the American dream to have heroes. Okay, it period, because who knows how many young girls who weren't necessarily old enough for Secretary Clinton in 2016, but they're old enough now for Vice President Harris. Because one of those things, look, not everybody's a history major like I was. Okay, not everybody is familiar with, the first woman to run for president of the United States like I am, and the fact that it happened a really long time ago, and not many people realize that. Okay, like, she ran for president, but she couldn't even vote. She didn't even have a franchise, but she could still run for president because it didn't say that you couldn't. My point is this, though: you can't quantify the inspirational effect that leadership and seeing people that look like you, think like you, have the same demographic background as you, there is something to be said for that. Like, what's one of the things I said about Biden? Second Catholic. I was raised Catholic. He's the second Catholic to be president of the United States. Second one. And I was, not only was I raised Catholic, but I was raised Polish Catholic when Poland was suffering under communism. So to a certain extent, even if I find myself in a position of authority, in a position of advantage, I grew up the underdog. Okay, because my ancestral homeland was not free, and it didn't become free until I was 12. So I was old enough to realize what oppression looked like. You know, granted, I didn't experience it, but where my family came from certainly did. Certainly did. And I'm only 2 generations removed from that. It's not like my family's been in this country a long time. They haven't. Okay? But like I said, it's inspirational because, you know, growing up as a Catholic kid, like, and I still have them to this day in my kitchen. I have a prayer card for the Pope, Saint John Paul II, and I have a prayer card for President Kennedy. And that prayer card, before it was in my kitchen, was in my mom's kitchen. And before it was in my mom's kitchen, it was in my grandfather's kitchen. Now, me, the history student, I couldn't necessarily connect with Kennedy because the Kennedy family was incredibly wealthy. I'm much more relatable to Joe Biden. I am much more relatable to Joseph Robinette Biden rather than John Fitzgerald Kennedy. With that said, you know, I'm kind of thankful that there's another Catholic in the White House, even though we don't agree on all the issues. We certainly do not. But like I said, I think it's important. And I mean, I've said this to you several times, and I mean, Joe Biden's the kind of guy that I'd want him to be my neighbor. I think it would just be great to just talk to Joe Biden. I think he's just one of those guys that, like, you know, I'm still reminded of what he said, and he got caught on the hot mic when the Affordable Care Act became law of the land.
This is a big effing deal.
This is a big fucking deal. No, he didn't say effing. He said fuck it. Like, hey, this is a big fucking deal. You know, like, and it is, and it was.
Okay.
But I can't. What's that?
Oh, so yeah, okay.
Well, it was a big
Yeah,
deal.
okay.
It was a
Okay.
massive deal.
Okay, you had a super majority in all of the houses,
You know,
and
you gotta keep.
the
You
best
gotta
you got
keep.
was Romney Care. Okay, 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 okay,
Wow.
okay. Have your fun. No,
Wow.
have your fun. Have your fun.
Jeez, man.
Have
I
your
mean,
fun.
I
It's the
kind of
Heritage Foundation plan, man. It's the Heritage Foundation.
I find it. I just find it shocking that I'm the one who is more
That you're
for
the
the
excited one, and I'm like,
center.
oh,
I just find it amazing that I'm the one who's in the center. You know, one of the, and again, you know, somebody I didn't really agree with him politically on a lot, and frankly, he should have been in jail for what he did. And I'm talking about Senator Ted Kennedy. Um, and I thought it was, you know, one of the a reporter asked him why he was so willing to work with President Reagan. And, you know, he has a very famous quote. And because, you know, he wasn't the leader of the Senate, but he was the inspirational leadership of the Senate. Inspirational leadership, Democratic Party. And he said, I'd rather go home with half a loaf of bread than go home hungry. And President-elect Biden, in his speech today, basically made that same argument, which is he's like, look, we have a separation of power. We have the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. We have two major political parties, one conservative, one liberal. And it looks like, all things being equal, that one of the two legislative houses is going to be conservative and the other legislative house is going to be liberal. We have a conservative court. You're going to have a liberal White House. You really can't get more divided than that. You really can't. I mean, one branch is going to be liberal, the White House. One branch is going to be, I think, overwhelmingly conservative, the Supreme Court. And then you're going to have one part of the legislative be liberal the House of Representatives, the other part of the legislative branch, the U.S. Senate, being conservative. That is the definition of divided government. You cannot get more divided than that. Now, my question is, given how divisive the outgoing president has been, and he's clearly been the most divisive president
in our
I think
lifetime, for sure.
It's not even our lifetime. I think historically speaking, the only one that's more divisive is maybe Andrew Johnson after the Civil War,
Yeah.
after the assassination of Lincoln. And what was Andrew Johnson's claim to fame? He was the one pre-war Southern Democrat who stayed loyal to the Union. And what did he do when he became president? Oh man, did he take it out on all of his enemies. Oh man, did he take it out. And that's frankly why he was voted out of office like he was, and he was impeached. I mean, that's the thing. You got to realize that this is a guy that he was impeached by the party whose ticket put him in the office. Normally, under circumstances like that, you would kind of get I don't want to say you would get a bye, but you would get a pass, because the president who said that this guy's going to be my vice president, the thought was a unifying ticket. I'm a Republican, he's a Democrat. Civil War is going to end. This is how we put the country back together. And he got impeached. And Trump was certainly in that same vein. Did he deserve to get impeached as he was? I don't think so.
It's a tough one. I've probably loosened myself up on impeachment.
I don't think so, because and I mean, I hate to say it this way, the impeachment process for him was political theater.
Yeah.
Because they knew that they knew that the Senate was not going to vote him out.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing. And here's the thing. It was the same thing when Bill Clinton did it, and when Bill Clinton was impeached. Now, the only difference I will say there is Bill Clinton did perjure himself. He completely did, and he lost his legal license. He did commit a crime.
Oh, he definitely committed perjury, but it was just
he committed
one of those.
perjury. But what was the subject of that perjury? The subject of the perjury was his extramarital affair. So should that have even been a topic of the impeachment? No.
No, and we talked about that on the last show. Like, if there's any good thing Trump has done, is he has taken that argument and just thrown it up.
And I am completely thankful that he has.
And unfortunately, he didn't win. But Cal Cunningham was the guy we were talking about last week. He ran against Tom Tillis and got busted having an affair with the staffer during the campaign, and still almost beat Tillis from behind the eight ball as a Democrat in North Carolina.
But see, I think that's horrible. I do. I don't want to say that I don't like what I call the morality litmus test for candidates. I don't, because we're all flawed people.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that argument, like, it didn't.
But here's what I will say. When it comes to a politician, here's what and I think that there is decidedly an age aspect to the point that I'm about to make. When I attended media training at the Republican National Committee, the RNC, the GOP, the party, right? Washington, D.C., national headquarters. When I attended and completed their media training school as well as their congressional campaign school, I did both. When I completed both of those, and this was in 2009, I will never forget, we started the beginning of every day. Expect, and this is what was said to us, expect that when you are out in public, you are being recorded. Expect every email you send to be seen by somebody other than who you're sending it to. Expect every text message or every photo that you send on your phone to be seen by somebody other than who you're sending it to. Expect everything
Big
you
Brother
say.
is always watching.
Well, no, it's not Big Brother. No, it wasn't Big Brother.
It was their Big Brother. It was
No,
it was Republicans'
no,
Big Brother,
no,
because it certainly
no, no,
sounds like
no,
Republicans'
no,
Big Brother.
no, no, no. Remember what I said I was doing. Media training and campaign school. It's not Big Brother. It's your political opponent. That's not Big Brother. It was expect that any communication that you have can be seen or frankly abused by your political opponent. With that said, this guy who's running for Senate is willing to have an affair with one of his campaign people. I'm sorry, put your priorities in order. What's more important to you? Having the affair or being senator? Because you can't do both in this day and age.
3, 2, 1. Thank you for watching Life Outside the Ivory Tower. If you enjoyed what you have seen, be sure to give the video a like. If you want to tell us what idiots we are, be sure to leave a comment below. We put out new content weekly, so subscribe, click the bell so you can stay up to date on how to survive life outside the Ivory Tower.